Hello, Internet. This is once again Joy of 3D here with another Camp Director Log. Again, these are just going to be informal kind of check-ins with the film project I'm working on and developing. Yeah, there's a lot I want to talk about today. I kind of have some talking points for myself. But first, let's check in on the project. Let's see, how we're doing. What you're seeing on screen is me modeling some clothes for the main character, Greenie. And I wanted to take this time to talk a bit about the process of just designing the main character, or just any character, and how we settled on a style. I have a few 2D artists in the Discord with me, but the one leading it, or the one who, I'd say the most experienced professional, as well as the person who really understands the vibe of the project, is my friend Chow. He also goes by Von Crew Crew on the internet. I'll put those things up. You should definitely check out his stuff on Twitter and Instagram. He's great. So basically what we did, we went back and forth and sent each other a bunch of reference material. I already had like a huge library of reference material for the project. And within minutes, he sent me a few that was like a few references of like, oh, kind of like this, or like this is kind of the vibe. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So we talked about some stuff, and then he got back to me with these 4 different quick sort of directions we could go based on some, vague idea of the kind of look I wanted. Because here's the thing, is like, I'm a 3D artist, I'm an animator. I'd say animation is definitely my strongest skill in 3D art. As far as 2D art goes, like drawing, I can doodle really well, but that's about it. I'm not like super good. I've had my moments with 2D art, but I'm not like professional at it. And as far as character design goes, there's definitely stuff I'm lacking. So I've tried and failed many times to do this project on my own, and to make these characters on my own. But I really would always hit a wall, and I would never be satisfied, because I don't want to even make this story if I can't do it at least like 80% close to the vision that's in my head. So I'm super lucky to have artists helping me out, like super talented artists. And so Chow not only zeroed in on and I gotta get Chow on one of these sometime too. I'll have to see if he wants to. But yeah, Chow really zeroed in on the vibe of the project, as others did, and Chow was able to take my sort of vague ideas and broad reference material and kind of come up with these 4 quick sketches, and then sort of ask me which one was closest, or what parts of each one was, close. So we talked about it, and I said, pretty much the second one from the left is the closest, but they all had something going for them that was really great. I really liked the uniqueness of the third one. I liked, there was a time where I wanted this project to be sort of like mimicking stop motion, and so all of the characters would be like living toys, or they would have like articulating action figure-y bodies with like PBR materials. I decided not to go in that direction, but a big reference for that stuff was the work of Ashley Wood. And so that third one is that third sketch there is pretty much like the Ashley Wood kind of inspired version. So I thought, but not just that about it, I really liked how big like the gloves looked and how like large everything was. The same with the first sketch. I like how big the coat was. And so I wanted to take some of, like, I ultimately chose the second one because the proportions were more readable, and I think would, especially the face, I think would lend to a more expressive product in 3D. I think any of these designs could have worked, but I think the expressions of the characters we want, for the story I have in mind, I think the expressions, there needs to be able to be a broad range of expressions. So I saw that happening most with the second one, and I liked the proportions of the characters too, because again, I want in this project to be able to like change styles on a dime. So we need sort of a model, a 3D model that can kind of exist in many different styles. So yeah, I went with the second one, but I did say that like I think it'd be cool to go with this like big proportion coats. I think Splatoon was a the art of Splatoon was a big reference as well, for like the big fashion, the bulky chunky fashion. And then, you know, with that in mind, I think about a week later, Chow came back with the sketch for Greenie. It was originally that one on the left, and then I referenced Powder from Arcane to get the proportions for like what a, you know, something less lanky, a bit more like clunky head, so that it just reads a bit more as like a kid, a prepubescent kid with like no balance over his body. Yeah, and then I think this design on the right is like perfect, so that's what we ran with, and that's what I modeled. So yeah, you're seeing me make the clothes. I am super happy with it, so that's where we're at in the project right now. Other things I'm thinking about doing are starting to animate some test shots based, you know, sort of like previs shots, because we don't really have storyboards yet. Because I found that storyboard artists in general are really busy. I mean, Chow's really busy too. Everyone's really busy. But storyboarding is like, it's one thing to ask Chow to make like one sketch for one character. It's another thing to ask like a storyboard artist to board an entire like 10-minute short film real quick. You know, that's not gonna happen quickly. And then of course this is, you know, there's no incentive to keep up with the project, aside from me just reminding people, would you like to help me? And which, you know, they're totally free to say no, I can't help on this project anymore, because I'm not paying for any of this. So all the help I get is appreciated. So yeah, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is probably doing some test animation shots, seeing if other animators want to help me just draft some stuff. Because I tried storyboarding myself, and it's so hard. I normally do it on pen and paper with like little doodles, but that just won't work for like, unless I animate the whole thing. But a lot of people were excited to help me animate this, so yeah, so I need to come up with some solution. Besides that, I need to start making assets, just random assets like guns and other clothing, as well as base meshes for adult characters or just other child characters. Just stuff that we can, you know, stick clothes on and call it an extra. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Let me take a sip of water here. So that's where we're at with this project. That's really the only update I have, but as far as the project goes, but I wanted to take the rest of this, you know, director log to just kind of talk about some stuff going on with me in my life as an artist. Maybe there'll be a few gems in there, or maybe I'll just ramble. Who knows? But yeah, let's talk about, I'm just gonna get into it. So why have I not animated as much lately? Yeah, because the last animation I posted was probably that Cammy stuff by the rig was made by ASAP Berg or Hard Gutem. I don't know if he's changed his name since then, but I'll put a link up to his Twitter stuff. And you can find him on Gumroad too. His rigging stuff is incredible. He's actually the person I contacted to help with rigging for this project. So I'm super thrilled just to have him lend any help He's like the GOAT of animation. I mean, of rigging. I don't know if he's animated, but he's the GOAT of rigging for animation, for 3D animation. He's the bomb. Yeah, so an update with me was that around January, February this year, I was helping out with an indie film project. This was paid work that I was doing, and it was taking up a lot of my time. I think I was holding another job at that time too, so I was kind of doing 2 jobs. Now I only have 1, so it's pretty chill. But yeah, after animating that much, like professionally, for like long hours, I wanted to take a little bit of a break. I was just kind of like exhausted. I needed to kind of clear my head, but also like, you know, it was in a more realistic style and the stuff I do is more stylized. So I wanted to give myself time to kind of get my head away from realism stuff and kind of like inject more anime into my blood, get my IV of anime. Yeah, so it was definitely a work-life balance thing, but now it's been like a month since then, maybe 2, like a month and a half, and I'm still not feeling like totally energetic to animate. And there's nothing. Here's the thing too, the animation industry isn't something that particularly interests me anymore. Like, I don't want to. I have found that working in animation just makes me feel really tired by the time I get home and I want to animate like my own stuff, like this project or something, for example, or just anything. I just get a little tired to do art for myself. So what I have right now is I have like a really chill remote part-time job that like takes care of me. And it is, you know, I'm doing 3D modeling. It's art related. I get to be in Blender all day, so it's really nice. And yeah, it's really chill. I make my own hours, and then I can use the extra time to do whatever I want. And to me, that's more preferable than like forcing myself to animate for money. Because the only reason I was doing, you know, like animation as a job isn't something I feel like I have to do, or like I must do. It's my purpose. It's just like, it's kind of like one of the few jobs that I find that I can do for 8 hours at a time every day without like wanting to die. There's not that many jobs that feel like that to me. I'm very stubborn, so yeah, that's the only reason I had done it professionally in the past. I of course love animation, and I feel good when I'm doing it, but you know, it's a job like anything else. To me, animation is about expressing movement or a feeling or a story or all of the above. And so, in addition to a little bit of burnout, there's no particular movement or story or feeling that I want to express right now besides making this project. And right now we're just not in the animation phase of making stuff. I do feel a little guilty about that, just as an animator, because especially getting some attention on my work last year, more than I've gotten before, or at least a step up, it instills this feeling in me that I have to keep doing it, and that everything I put out publicly has to be this sort of like, you know, it has to measure up. There's also the layer of like, when you're a 3D animator, you only have 2 options, and one is like you make your own models and you animate those, or you find free rigs. Well, they don't have to be free, but you find, you know, animation rigs, like rigged 3D models online to animate with. And usually if you're finding stuff online that other people made, you're usually doing this to boost your portfolio or to like practice certain things, like certain skills or body mechanic stuff. And if you're making your own stuff, you could be doing that too, like portfolio stuff. But usually if you're making your own stuff, it's because you specifically want to make, a specific thing that you're trying to put out. And so you have to think about what is the why behind, why am I doing this? Like, what is the reason behind this? And so I'm not in a position right now where I feel like there's nothing really calling me to like I don't really want to make just fan art stuff or like portfolio boosting stuff, because I don't want to work in the industry. I also don't want to like spend the energy I have just making random stuff for likes on Twitter, because it seems kind of disingenuous. And the original models I want to make are related to this project, so I'm already doing that. And so I wanted to kind of talk about my overall philosophy on art and art in your life, because art to me is all about joy. That's why my name is this. I'm named Joy of 3D because of Bob Ross. I took it from Joy of Painting, but also this larger philosophy of life, which is revolving around joy. I make art for myself. I think the primary purpose of art is self-discovery and expression. There's this Kurt Vonnegut quote. He made this letter to a classroom of I think English students, but I'll put it up on screen right now. You could find it on Google Images if you just search for it. His whole point at the end of the letter, he basically says to write a poem, really write like some sort of heartfelt poem with some restrictions on it. Whatever, give yourself a prompt and write something, and then when you're done, look at it and then rip it up and throw it away in a way that no one will ever find it. And you'll find that even though nobody saw it and you shared it with no one and you got no reward out of it, you'll find that you still feel rewarded, because the purpose of art is, in his words, to make your soul grow. And so, like I said, I happen to do 3D art for money because I can do it for hours, but it doesn't have to be my job. It's certainly not like, I would say art is my nature and not my purpose. For me, making art is more like eating, and so I only do it when I'm hungry to do it, and that normally happens naturally. At the same time, it's also like, to me, it's like going to church or something. Like it's a responsibility. Like, you gotta show up. It's something I have to do, but because it's good for my spirit. But that doesn't mean it's always in the form of animating. I like modeling, I like sculpting, I like writing and doodling, and I like making playlists. Like I like making board games for my friends to play, or like running a D&D campaign. There's like a million ways to get the creative itch out, and sometimes it presents itself differently in you. And sometimes it's really short-lived, and sometimes it takes a long time to fully express what you want to express. So I figure I put enough pressure on myself as is. I don't necessarily want to force a certain kind of artistic expression on myself at any given point, unless there's responsibility or money involved. Unless I owe someone something. So yeah, that's definitely why I've not been animating a lot as of late. Oh, I also think it has to do with satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So I always tell people that creative growth is all about community, consistency, and joy. Meaning, like, if you want to get good at something, at any skill, I think you need community, like a bunch of people who are excited about learning the same thing as you, and at different stages of their journeys. So people who are better than you or worse than you, and it's nice just to have a community. I think it's actually necessary to have a community. Consistency is important, or in other words, routine effort. So just showing up for 30 minutes to 4 hours every day or more. And then joy is like, do you like this? Does this light up your heart? to do this activity. So I think those three things are necessary for creative growth, but creative longevity requires, I think, hunger or dissatisfaction. Like you need to have this feeling of there's something I want to make, and then you try to make it and it's close, but it's not exactly what you wanted, so you have to try again and again. And you know, that could be, I want to be really good at this skill, or I want to be able to play this kind of song on guitar. And until you get there, then like you're gonna have that fire and that hunger to kind of keep going for it. And so I think right now I might also be a little satisfied with where I'm at right now, because, well, all right, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna stick to my notes that I have here so that I just say what I want to say in full. If you've been listening this long, by the way, you're a trooper. I know I said I might drop a gem here and there, but it's mostly going to be rambling. This is definitely rambling. This is nothing but rambling. So anyways, I just feel like if you have burnout and satisfaction combined, then your passion is going to be really dwindling, because you're tired, but also you're not hungry. And so then it's time to do some soul searching, because what happened with me is that I really wanted to get good at animation. I also really wanted to get a following online. Like, for some reason, that was one of my goals. Like, I just wanted to be kind of recognized for being good at animation too, in some way. And I did want to do it professionally for a time. So, and now it's like I got good at it, and I can get a good amount of attention on my work. So the question is, like, is this enough? Like, does that mean I just stop? And if not, then what am I really doing my art for then? Or was that all I was doing my art for? Which I think the obvious answer is no. In other words, do you go to church just because it protects you and keeps you safe and makes you feel good? Or do you go to church to work and to grow and to discover stuff about yourself and about your world? So the question I'm tossing around right now, as I do once every blue moon, is what is the spiritual center of my art right now? What is the action attached to that? I know that I want to make camp. I want to make this film project. I love films. I love movies, and I've always wanted to make movies. A large, part of the motivation of me learning 3D animation in the first place was so that I can make my own stuff. And so now I'm kind of here at that point where I can start doing that, but it's really slow moving, because if I was gonna make a small, quick animation shot, something flashy for Twitter, I can crank that out in 3 days or less, and like that doesn't require that I have a ton of energy amassed. It's just like it's almost like a no strings attached date or something, It's just like it's a short burst of passion, and then you're done, and then it's out. Then you can rest and do it again, when you feel like it. But for a project like this is like a marriage. If I really want to make something like this, I have to have energy across probably years. It could take a long time, maybe half a decade, maybe a decade, hopefully less, hopefully much less. But what I'm saying is that it takes a lot of energy. So managing my energy for it, as well as managing my expectations for it, it's a slow project, and it's gonna grow like a tree than it is like a weed, I'm not gonna see the results or the fruits of it for a long time. And so little victories are things I need to celebrate, but also I think this transition in mindset is something I kind of have to deal with as well. Of, okay, I'm maybe not going to be making super flashy stuff all the time. I might just want, my spirit, my soul might want to just be exploring these other aspects of art, these other art mediums, these other parts of the pipeline that I haven't fully absorbed myself into as much in the past, because I was focusing more on animation. And yeah, so maybe it means I take some distance from animation and enjoy other art mediums. Maybe it means don't think so much and just animate some stuff for fun. Maybe it means the opposite. I animate only intentionally. Maybe it means I absorb a ton of anime and other stuff that excites me so that I'm just full to the brim of inspiration. Overall, I think it is my job as an artist and as a person, as a creative person, to listen to my inner self and to not betray what my spirit needs. I certainly don't think the point of me making art is to get likes on Twitter or to be popular or to make stuff that people think is cool. I think my job as an artist and as a creative person, and my purpose overall, is to express the electricity inside of me and to make stuff that I think is dope and that I think is super sick, regardless of any other observation on it. And so I just want to make camp.